bloodsuckers.
As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell,
Join us!
you will realize that there is something ahead.
Groovy.
Something that lurks behind the dark veil.
We have such sights to show you.
A veil that is beyond our own comprehension.
I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
I am your host, Alex, and this is my lovely co-host,
Christina.
That's right. We're going to be doing an episode 176. Two movies, by the way, from Arrow Films, which are slashers by José Ramón Larraz. These are Edge of the Axe from 1988 and
Deadly Manor from 1990.
That's right. You're so excited, Christina.
So excited. Well, this is just how I talk.
We gotta wake these motherfuckers up. They're probably listening to this in the morning and they're like, Jesus, I need to wake up.
No, they're in self-quarantine right now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because everybody's...
No one's leaving their house.
Right.
Because they might die.
And, yeah, so I feel like we should talk about that a little bit because, you know, we can document this for the future if I survive.
Oh, my God.
You know, you guys can listen back and be like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's how he's dead.
Alex, you never leave the house.
Yeah, I don't care.
I think you're going to be okay.
I feel like if you watch that, we watched Contagion recently, rewatched it, I guess, from 2011. And holy shit, like every time they touch something, it's like, now I just think about that. And I'm like, what if the mailman had it? And then he delivers the mail and then the mail gets in here and I get all excited about opening up the mail and it's one of my new DVDs and one of the guys at the factory, he probably sneezed on his fucking hand or rubbed his balls and dick all over the side of my fucking DVD or his hands and then touched the DVD.
Well, that's
and now,
why you disinfect everything. Duh.
Right. Yeah. Well, we don't have any, so.
Oh, it's because I left it at work.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think I'm more prone to getting it from work.
Which, by the way, nobody can get anything at the stores right now. And all I see online is people talking about it, which is either jokingly or don't panic. You know, most people are just like, you know, just being cautious. But there are some assholes out there buying up like stuff and then reselling it to people for 4 times its value.
Right.
Or 20 times or whatever the fuck it is.
This is America.
Yeah, I know.
That's what we do.
Because capitalism works 100%. And the only time we need socialism is when a crisis happens. I'm just saying that's the truth, whatever side you stand on. Anyway.
I started preparing like back in the beginning of February when the first case got hit here.
Right. Well,
then I started buying things back then.
Right. We didn't go wild on it,
Oh,
though.
no, we don't go wild.
We just buy enough for us to...
6 months, me.
I don't think it's even that much.
But me, I've always been like this with toilet paper.
We've been this way forever.
Yes, I do not risk running out of toilet paper because when I met Alex and he was... He was living in his house. Like, you never had fucking toilet paper.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's true.
And I hated that. I think I even had some in my purse at one time. Like, when I would come over, I'd be like, oh, I got to make sure I grab a roll of toilet paper because I'm going over to Alex's house.
What I love right now that's going on is not that there's a virus, clearly, but it's like everybody is this like armchair scientist now. And it's like, I don't trust anything anybody says. I'll just take my information from the science guys instead of like, and then there's like...
Well, you shouldn't trust anyone.
Then there's like evangelicals and like Alex Jones and shit trying to sell fake fucking cures and shit to coronavirus.
Is Alex Jones selling?
Yes.
What is it? I want to know. I didn't hear about this.
Silver fucking whatever they call it.
Oh, that silver liquid?
Yeah, I don't know. I swear to God, guys, if you watch Contagion, like literally, this is like
It's
everything that
really
is happening.
Similar.
is-
You don't die like instantly.
It's not
like,
as high a rate,
but
yeah.
the whole social part of that movie is
They had a
lot
40%
like
mortality rate.
Yeah.
So, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But, that was like, if you got it, you died. There was no
There was
saving
no
you whatsoever.
Yeah. Where this, there's chance, but I'm not going to.
The thing that cracks me up is like everybody that's like, stop panicking! Stop fucking panicking! Why are you panicking? Like it's like, isn't that panic right there? What you're doing right there?
Well, and I said this on Twitter the other day. I think I said there's a difference between panic, preparing, and hoarding.
Right.
Because that is exactly what's going on right now. Is
People
those
are
three
selfish.
things.
They don't think about things. Like,
Right.
there is a little bit of selfishness when you're like, prepping stuff, but it's not really about being selfish. It's just being about prepared.
Yeah, it's being prepared.
And, there are people out there that are a little nutty that do too much preparing,
Right.
but it's okay to be cautious. Like when things were getting tumultuous back, like when I first met you, we were like making sure that we had lots of water.
Right.
So
Exactly.
because like water is literally, if there was something bad that happens, water is like the one thing that's worth more than gold.
Right.
Because you can't live without it.
Well, I mean, there's tap water, but I mean that could get shut off, and
Right,
the tap
or
water
it could get
here in
infected
Arizona,
or some dumb shit.
Yeah, exactly. It could be in the water.
Yeah, we live
But
in
it could be-
Arizona, for
It could
Christ's
be in
sake.
the bottled water. Did
Did you just say bong water?
I said bottled water. It could be in
Oh.
the bottled water.
Like, when did you
Well,
start?
it could be in the bog water too.
Whoa, man, I don't know if I could go like 5 months without smoking, bro. That's what all potheads
You
sound
better.
like.
I bet you they're stocking up too.
But I've tried to refrain from getting in debates about it, but it's hard because like sometimes, like I have bad lungs, and yes, I smoke. I'm not a perfect example of intelligence here, but I'm addicted to it. So it's tough. It's tough for me, but I have always had bad allergies, and my allergies have turned into pneumonia like numerous times. Like I had chronic pneumonia and chronic bronchitis for like 3 years, and it was terrible. It got to the point where I was like so scared, like you would come around me and I'd be like, please don't get me sick, because I won't recover for 4 months.
You should stop smoking.
I know.
Might help.
Of course. I didn't want to
Yes.
turn this into being about me and my cigarettes. I'm not going to get coronavirus just because I smoke. I'm just higher at risk.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ, Christina.
Sorry. Well, I mean,
She's like, you're fat. Let's just go down the list.
No, Alex, stop. It's horrible.
You smell bad. I mean, you don't take showers regularly. What is it? You smell like a foot. What else can we share with them, Christina? What else? Anyway. With that said, I'd like to mention one of our sponsors for the show today. No, but for real, we have MVD Entertainment Group who have provided these movies to us. As some of you guys know, the movies that we're going to be talking about are Arrow films, Deadly Manor and Edge of the Axe, which MVD Entertainment Group does the U.S. distribution for. And they also do their own distribution of movies that they put out as well. So they have actually sent me stuff in the mail, and I want to thank them very much for sending those out, the review copies, and even sent us another movie that I got to do on the YouTube here soon, which, by the way, since the coronavirus is happening, I don't have to go out of the office because I do everything here. So you'll have plenty of entertainment while you're all dying. Thanks, MVD. Anyway, guys, I think it might be that time.
What time is it?
Horrorshots! All right, guys, so we're going to be doing our horror shot based off of the movie Deadly Manor. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean when we pick these that they're our favorite movies. They could or they couldn't be, but you'll have to stick around to find out.
It's what's based on, like, what would look good as a shot.
Right. Because we try to take elements of the movie and put it in these shots so that we can sort of give this really cool idea. And we came up with the idea of the milky eye, because in the movie Deadly Manor, there is a woman with a dead milky eye. And so what is in a milky eye, Christina? This is her ingredients that she came up with.
All right. You want to do 1 ounce of rum chata, a half an ounce of Fireball, and a half an ounce of 99 bananas.
Right.
And you mix that up and you'll have a shot.
Yeah, it's probably better chilled. So if you do it over ice and then pour the shots, it'll probably taste much better.
Especially with the rum chata, because it's kind of creamy.
Right.
What? I
don't know. The word creamy trips me out.
It's creamy.
Say it again.
It's creamy.
No, the way you said it was like, it's creamy.
It's creamy.
Just like her eye.
That's right.
So Christina made shots for us.
And I'm going to do a little shot too.
Now, we want to add a little extra flair and do what one of the actresses did in this movie.
Okay.
Because the actress just yells at everybody.
She said, congratulations!
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 It's actually pretty good.
Snickerdoodle.
Yeah, it's kind of like a snickerdoodle with banana hint.
Yeah, that's
like a tinge.
really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really good. Woo!
Mm.
Woo!
I could do a lot of those.
I could do another one. I don't have any more horchata, though.
So, if you would like to try a milky eye, all you got to do is go to longlivthevoid.com and check out our hashtag Horrorshots section. Now, that's it for Horrorshots. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of Edge of the Axe and
Deadly Manor.
Right now.
All right, guys, so I'm going to kick off the first one because we're going in order of when these movies came out. The first movie that we're going to be talking about is Edge of the Axe, which came out in 1988. It was released in the U.S., of course, September 15th on video in 1989, technically, but it was made in 88.
Was it straight to video?
I think so, yeah. But it's also known as Al Filo del Hacha. The story of Edge of the Axe is an axe murderer terrorizes a small Northern California mountain community while 2 young computer-obsessed adults attempt to solve the killings. The director of this movie is José Ramón Larraz. He's done a ton of different films between 1970 and 1990. He's done lots of sexual sort of exploitation with horror mixed in there, sleazy horror, I guess you could call it. He's done Los Ritos Sexuales del Diablo.
Del Diablo?
The Rite of the Sexual Demon, I think, or Devil, something like that.
Huh.
He also did The National Mummy, Stigma, another movie called And Give Us Our Daily Sex, which I'm totally thinking is And Give Us Our Daily Bread.
Right. Right.
That's funny.
That's what I thought of when you said that.
Yeah, he did another movie called El Marron, Vampires, and many more. It was written by Joaquin Amicatis, who's done La Larga Noche de los Bastones and others. Also, writer Javier Elorrieta, who's also more of a director. He's actually written Psycho Game, Witchery Deal, which he also directed those, and also directed films like Wild Boys, Blood Hunt, La Larga Noche de los Bastones.
Oh, it was a good job. More than what I could do. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I did study a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah.
Also, writer Jose Frade, who is also more of a producer. He's also written on Torment, Blood and Passion, and many more. Some of the cast in this film are Barton Fawkes, who played the character Gerald. He was in Future Kill in a movie called Freeze. Also stars Christina Marie Lane, who plays Lillian. This is all she's ever done, and I didn't even think she was that bad of an actress. She looks like some other 80s actress that I just couldn't figure out.
That's right.
I kept calling her something. She was like really famous.
Yeah, you kept saying that.
It sucks. It's going to bug the fuck out of me now.
I'm telling you got a Google image
reverse
face.
Search.
Yes.
I know. Anyway, it also has Paige Mosley, who plays Richard Simmons, which I don't know if that was a nod towards
Richard.
Yeah,
Simmons.
I don't know if that was a nod towards the
Richard Simmons, the jazzercise guy, not jazzercise.
He plays the older cool guy in the movie. He was in a movie called Open House from '87, The Jigsaw Murders, Melrose Place in 3 episodes, and a few other things. It also stars Fred Holliday, who plays Frank, the sheriff. He was in a lot of westerns back in the day, and a big part in Days of Our Lives between '88 and '91. Plus, he was on the Adam 12 TV show. He was in a movie called Conquest of the Earth, Lobster Man from Mars, Cyber Tracker 2, and many more.
Some winners right there.
I mean, yeah, I know some of those, actually. It also stars Patty Shepard, who plays Laura Simmons. She was in The Werewolf versus the Vampire, The House Without Frontiers, The Witch's Mountain, Crypt of the Living Dead, Creation of the Damned, Los Diablos del Mar, Rest in Pieces, which is also another movie that Jose, the director of this movie, produced. Also stars Alicia Morrow, who plays Rita. She was in Exterminators of the Year 3000, Slugs, Hot Blood, and more. We got Jack Taylor, who plays Christopher, who's been in a ton of stuff dating back to the 50s, like The Curse of Nostradamus, Count Dracula from 70, Dr. Jekyll versus the Werewolf, The Vampire's Night Orgy, The Ghost Galleon from the Blind Dead collection, The Mummy's Revenge, Exorcismo, Nathalie, Escape from Hell, Pieces, Conan the Barbarian, and plenty more, lots more.
Wow.
Also has Colin Arthur, who did the makeup effects in this and some of the prop designs. He's worked on movies like The Rift, which we were just talking about in our underwater one that we just did a couple weeks ago. He also did Conan the Barbarian Swords, Wax, Cthulhu Mansion, Zardoz, Vampires, Clash of the Titans, The Neverending Story, and plenty more.
Ooh, Neverending Story.
Right, he didn't write the song, but God damn it. Copyright story, never do this. Anyway, let's go on. Christina, what did you think of this movie? And for those of you listening, this is, of course, our spoiler-free part, so you don't have to worry about anything being ruined, although these are pretty old, so it's not exactly like ruining anything, but there are probably a lot of people that haven't seen it. So, but what did you think?
Oh, dear Lord. I'm a little conflicted about this one.
Okay.
I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I don't like it.
Well, if you don't like it, you better come correct.
I'm like in the middle. So like the beginning of the movie, it really sucked you in and it grabbed your attention because the woman gets axed to death in her car in the car wash.
Right.
So she was going through the car wash and she got axed to death. That was cool.
So you like the style of it in that scene?
Yeah. Even though most of the death scenes weren't like that extraordinary.
Right. Okay.
But I really like the music of the score.
Yeah, I did too.
It was really good.
It is really good. It's simple.
Right.
But it's really effective.
Right. But the concept and the plot was a little slow. And the ending wasn't that good. But it was totally an 80s movie. Like, it was totally an 80s movie. The clothes, the computers, just the way they talk, totally an 80s movie.
Totally 80s, man.
They kind of made it a point. There was a guy in there and he was married to an older lady.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like how
it's different.
It was different, especially for the time, and they really pointed it out.
Yeah, like it was kind of unnecessary though too, but it's like it's different, so it's like okay with me.
Right. I like how they disguised the killer, and they kept twisting it up so you had no idea who the killer was. But that actually got kind of annoying towards the end because it could have been anybody.
Right.
And then when you find out who the killer was, I won't spoil it, you're kind of disappointed.
Right. Well, I have some trivia on that. That's pretty interesting, too.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to hear that. But overall, I thought it was like a 6 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, I think
I'm surprised by that.
Really?
I thought you were going to think it's way lower.
Yeah, no, 6 out of 10. I mean, we enjoyed watching it. We had fun with it.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the acting in it? Was it like so bad it's good?
No,
or
it was
do you
fine.
Think it was fine?
Yeah, it was fine to me.
Okay.
Well, wait.
It wasn't way over the top, but it was.
Over the top, but it wasn't like poorly acted.
Okay. It was
Except
tolerable.
For, like, some parts, but
Yeah, it was tolerable.
Right. What do you think?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, of course, on this, but this is my first time watching it. Both of these movies really are. And by the way, both of these movies include white masked killers.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. And it's the same director.
Yeah, maybe we'll call the episode White Mask Killer, or no.
Killers.
White Masks.
White Masks?
I don't know.
Killer?
Maybe someone will think it's some racist thing. So maybe not. I don't know. Everybody gets triggered these days. Welcome to Paddock, California, where all the men cheat on their wives. The ladies don't give a fuck. And White Masked Axe Killer is on the loose. It's pretty simple as that, but it's also a very twisty movie that kind of lacks in the dialogue department and story, sort of.
Right.
But, it's actually quite a good looking picture. Like the way that they shot it, the 2K restoration on this print, by the way, since we are kind of doing like a review of the movie and of the extras and everything that we got on the disc, makes it look really, really fucking good. It almost seemed like it was a 4K restoration and they dropped it down to 1080p, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's shot really, really fucking well, in my opinion. A lot of proportionate shots, which I'm a fucking sucker for. And the lighting was actually pretty cool. It's the kind of like 80s horror film that I like when they do think about those kind of things. So, although some of the shots had some like extreme close-ups on their face, and I wasn't exactly sure why they were doing that, because it wasn't like a tense moment, but it was almost like they were trying to insinuate that. Like in a funeral, like,
oh yeah,
like it was just weird. The weird angles that they had on some of these were a little weird. But anyways, being that I saw an axe, a white mask, and it was a killer horror flick, it kind of made me excited to see this, especially being in the 80s. But it's not exactly as straightforward as perhaps you might think. The film kind of suffers from some seriously odd dialogue between the characters, which is actually a good thing, and in some regards. It does a decent job of making you think that you know who this killer is, like you said, but you're completely wrong. Sort of ridiculously paints people as the murderer at the same time in this true sort of Spanish-American giallo, or giallo is how you're supposed to say it. And it's more of a category of so bad it's good to me in a way, but also shot in a real stylistic way. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a weird mix there. Kind of think that the dialogue in this really helped make it more interesting, just because it was so weird and different. I think it helps it more than it provides gore. So there is blood, but, it's very minimal gore, which is kind of a bummer. But, a few scenes had me and Christina laughing pretty heartily. One scene in particular that had me rewind it like 3 or 4 times because I was just like, what?
I couldn't believe what they said.
Yeah, I was like, what? Who would say that to somebody, first of all? And the way that she reacts in it, which we'll talk about in the spoiler section, is just fucking priceless. But still, for a low on gore, bad dialogue film that kind of throws you for a loop as to its logic, it's not that bad. I wish, there was more gore in it, honestly, but, because all you really get is this foam axe that sort of hits people all over the body, and you don't see any gashes or anything like that, which I really wanted to see.
Right, I did too.
It's more of like that afterthought kill than actually any in-lens gore. Sorry to report, guys. But for people who have not seen this movie, don't let that sway you, because I still think that this is a pretty decent film. It has that sort of dark, sweeping, swelling, synthy soundtrack to it, which you mentioned before, and I think is a good thing for this film. It's not exactly scary, but it's just something I like in these types of 80s films.
Right. Stands out.
I personally, if I had to compare this to another movie, not necessarily anything about it, but just quality-wise, I prefer the movie Madman over this one, which I actually like, with Madman Mars.
No, I don't remember.
It's just an infinitely better but similar score kind of feel to it.
I see. Okay.
To me, I just like Madman more than this movie.
Right.
But, you know, it, like we mentioned, it is a straight-to-video release, though, and the acting isn't too terrible for that formula, so some of the choices they made to be different for a film were kind of odd, though. You know, like we mentioned, like, he's dating an older woman, which really doesn't even really play into anything.
Yeah.
For any reason, and we don't know why.
Yeah, it was weird.
It just leans much more psychological than a straightforward horror, which to me is the Giallo formula. This is probably a more above average psychological slasher, just not a great one. Although I know a few people who consider this like to be an ultimate classic, and a lot of people consider this to be one of his better works. So, you know, maybe they're bigger fans of this subgenre than me, though, because I just didn't find it to be great for me. But I had a laugh watching it, and it counts for something in my opinion. So I think if those of you trying to collect every single killer slasher or giallo horror film that you can find out there, it's definitely not a bad buy. The extras on this give you a lot on the Arrow disc, a lot of interviews, commentary on the film and stuff, which I didn't listen to because I didn't want to spoil everything that was on the disc for those of you who haven't seen this or picked it up yet. So it didn't blow me away. I just kind of admire a lot of the shots that they made in this movie and the laughs that it gave me. So I'd say it's probably like a 5.5 or 6, probably a 6. Better than average slasher.
Yeah.
So 6 out of 10. But yeah, I pretty much just say that that's mostly because of the shots, the pacing, the atmosphere, and the music. And some of the shitty dialogue. But what did you say, 6? So we both said about 6.
Yeah, we both said 6.
So it'll be 5.75 or 6.
Whatever, it's 6.
Whatever. I'm just saying, like, if you combine the efforts. I always give, like, another point variable because, like, I feel, like, unsure.
Variable. Why we gotta do all this fucking math?
Because I don't know, like, it's like watching it your first time isn't always it's like I've noticed I've watched movies later that I love that I hated the first time I watch it. Like all those, the guy who did Office Space and shit. Right. Never liked those movies the first time I watched them. But always remembered them and came back to them. Right. And then they grew and got bigger and, you know, like I understood it more as it went on. So, you know, maybe this could go up later on.
Yeah, exactly.
But where Madman, to me, is an infinitely better film because it just kind of is wild, even if it's all over the place. So now we're going to get into some of our trivia and spoiler section. So if you haven't watched this movie and you don't want anything spoiled, here is your warning. You can always skip to the next movie for our spoiler-free section for Deadly Manor and check that out before we spoil anything on that one too, and then come back later or whatever. So José Ramón Larraz, in 1952, where he started his career, he was a comic book writer for magazines like Pelote and Spiro. His most known creation was the action comic series called Paul Foran, which he wrote under the name Gil. But Larraz then moved to England in 1976, where he began making films and relocated his operations back to Spain. He made all kinds of different types of films, but he's best known for his horror films, obviously. So, and his last few horror films were Spanish-American co-productions. He apparently just retired from all of filmmaking in 1992 at the age of 63. And then he shortly passed away of about 20 years later at the age of 84.
Oh, wow.
In Malaga, Spain, I'm assuming. On the 3rd of September in 2013. So he is no longer with us.
But his work lives on.
Yes, that's the wonderful thing about making film or making anything creative. Barton Fawkes, who played Gerald in this movie, who they pin as the killer the whole fucking movie. Right. He said that he felt like he was going to have fun with this movie when he read the script, and he was just going to go over the top because this is like his chance to be the main starring role of a movie, and he was like, fuck it, man, I'm just going to go wild and just like blow everyone out of the water. So he was like super stoked about this. He was super stoked about making a film in Spain because he had never done that before. So he was like really like, he was like, this is the one. This is the movie that's going to do it for me, you know? And he was only 25 years old when he made this movie. So He was still pretty young. Very cool guy, by the way. And the extras is just, it was a pleasure to watch him talk. He's a very good speaker. And I just enjoyed his personal attitude towards life. Like, he was just very inspiring.
Yeah, he really was. Isn't he a teacher?
Yeah, he became a teacher.
Yeah.
To teach kids to act.
Right.
And I think that is perfect. He loves that. He said that, you know, acting was fun, but he thinks his real calling and his legacy is to work with kids to teach them so that they can have that experience too. And he also wants to dabble in some voice acting as well. So he's not much of a horror fan, but he did say that, you know, he did get offered a part in The Fly 2 where Eric Stoltz played the kid, and he was going to play that part, but he didn't get a callback for it. After he did one callback, and then they picked Eric.
Got him.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz. He was talking about the mass killer in the movie, and he was saying that there was multiple people who were wearing that mask or taking it off, so that you would think it's a girl or a guy or whoever it is, like the whole time. Typically, I've noticed that, I don't know if every movie does this, but have you ever noticed that they usually use the same person through the whole thing?
Right.
Not always. I'm just saying, like...
Usually.
Like, you can kind of, like, look at their eyes or, you know, see the shape of their face or, you know, see if they're, like, how they're holding things. And it's like you're trying to piece it together in your mind. But this one really threw us for a loop.
Right. But I do remember there was one part and they showed the killer's butt and you were like, oh, that's Jared's butt. He has no butt.
Right. That's what I was thinking, too. Paige Mosley, who plays Richard, said he loved the experience of making it. He was the older exterminator guy with Gerald, who was talking to Gerald as if he was this like older guy and he was like hanging around this kid. It was just too much to be hanging out with this kid because he was so much older. And they're literally in real life. He was 26 when he made this movie. And the guy, and Barton Fawkes, who played Gerald, was 25. So they were like 1 year apart. So it's kind of weird. Just thought that was funny. Apparently, Paige Mosley said that he and Fred Holliday also brought their golf clubs to play golf out in Spain.
Oh, wow.
So they went around and played golf on their times that they weren't working.
That's cool.
I thought it was funny. Paige also said that he loved the sound guys, but he said they were like really good at their job and everything. But personally, I don't know if you noticed this, but for me, there was a couple of scenes where the voices were too distant from the mic.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that. I did.
So I'm like, I'm not trying to like shit on anybody.
Right.
I just figured it's an old, you know, low budget film and no big deal.
Yeah.
But I was like surprised to hear him say that the sound guys were so perfect.
Well, maybe they didn't have a good night the night before, so they're a little hungover. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
they used to get shit faced together or
Yeah,
something.
they get shit faced together and then have to go do their sound the next day.
Right.
They weren't on point.
Also, I mentioned Colin Arthur, who was the guy who did the props and makeup effects and stuff like that. He has worked on the apes in 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He also made like the weapons in Conan the Barbarian and the axes in this movie. He even worked on the hand chopping scene, the fingers or whatever, and the white mask and like how he did it. He always thought it was cool to like do a featureless face. A white mask that you couldn't tell anything about, which is probably a nod to fucking Halloween if you really think about it, because it does have the nose holes in the eyes,
right?
But no hair. So, but that's pretty much it for the trivia that I have on this.
Oh, so I like the music so much. I looked up the guy.
Yeah,
his name's Javier Aletria. And he's done a shit ton of movies, like Spanish movies. But he did this one movie called Blood Hunt from 1986.
Yeah.
So he did the music. Oh, no, he directed that movie. I'm sorry. I was like surprised because he directed and did the music for
either
Blood
one of
Hunt.
the actors or somebody did Blood Hunt that I was talking about. Yeah, I mentioned that.
Well, you know, they all know each other.
Pretty, they all work together.
He directed it too. He did, so it was
that's
like,
interesting.
Yeah,
I was kind of curious because it sounds familiar, but I don't know. So I don't know. That's one of the things why I love doing the actors and what they've done, because it's like, oh, it gives me all these new, fresh ideas of new movies that I might not have seen.
Right.
It's like every time I think that I've seen every 80s movie, you know.
Yeah. They just come popping up out of the woodwork.
Dude, and I watch so many.
You
like,
do.
And it's like, and there's just, it's like it's never ending.
Right.
There was just such a boom back then.
Yeah.
So, but we go over some of our scenes here. You mentioned the car wash scene in the very beginning with the woman getting murdered by a man in a white mask and an axe.
Right.
Which was a really cool scene. Like, I loved how they opened it up
scene, yeah.
where they're shooting at the fucking bristle things that spin around.
Uh-huh.
It was just such a cool looking shot. Like, even if you didn't know what it was at first, it was just, I don't know.
Yeah, this lady's just in her car, like, just getting
A nurse.
Oh, I'm getting my car washed. I'm going to smoke my cigarette. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy in a white mask pops up. He peeps his little head out. Beep, beep. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you.
And then he smashes in the window as she slides down the side of the, like, she screams, gets axed, screams again, and then, like, slowly slides down her side window with blood on that window, and you see the soapy suds, like, sliding down at the same time, which, you know, it's probably a little long, but, you know, I was like, this is really well shot. This is where I was like, okay.
Yeah, it really was.
Really cool looking scene.
Right. And gas was 99 cents a gallon.
Yeah, Christina was freaking out.
I was like, what? I had made him pause it. I was like, what the fuck? Does that say 99 cents?
I think the next one was where the pest guys, the pest control guys seem to be like the main cast, you find out. And it's like the one older guy who's Richard, and then the younger one who's Gerald. Richard's the guy who's dating the older woman, and he's going to pick her up from this place where this bar is and this boat docking place, because they all live by the water in this lake or something. I guess it's a
lake.
It's supposed to take place in Big Bear or something.
Where's Big Bear? What the fuck is that?
California.
Oh, but
they said it was called Paddock, but I'm just saying it was.
But they filmed in Spain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they even mentioned that it looked the same as.
Oh, Big Lake.
Yeah,
Big Bear.
Big Bear. Yeah. But those two guys, they're investigating the smell of the local Coggies bar, and some girl is dead in the bar's attic with her face all chewed off from rats, which is kind of cool. But it was like,
It's kind of weird. Yeah, it happened so fast. It's like you couldn't take.
You knew it was coming, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the body just like fell, and they didn't make it all dramatic or memorable. Yeah,
I think they wanted it to be a jump scare.
Yeah,
but I don't know. But then they visit that. I got that confused. They were actually visiting another bar later where they were going to pick up that guy's wife.
Oh, that's right.
And the older guy who's married to the older woman is flirting with the bartender, while the younger one, Gerald, is chopping it up with the younger girl who's working at the bar as the, like, daughter of the guy. Yeah, the daughter of
that guy.
Yeah, and they're all playing an arcade game together, and he mentions he can show her about computers or something like that because it's the 80s.
Hey, you want to come and see my computer?
Yeah, let me show you my megabytes. But they flash forward with her at his house, and he's showing her his computers, and she's like super interested in him. He says, "Go ahead, sit down, ask it anything you want." He even gives her a computer, by the way. He's just like, "Yeah, you can have this one."
Yeah, they don't cost nothing.
Yeah, it's only $700.
An extra one laying around.
Yeah,
my Macintosh.
Yeah, it is a Macintosh too. But he's like, "Here, go ahead, ask this computer anything you like." And she's like, "Okay, but I will, but don't look." And he keeps peeking over his shoulder. And she's like, "Stop, don't look." You know, they're all flirtatious. And then she looks back, like, keeps yelling at him. It's all super cutesy stuff here, guys. Yeah, and then she types it in, and then you hear, like, this noise from the computer. And then he's like, what is that? It says data incomplete. And he's like really confused by this. And he keeps asking her because apparently, by the way, you can ask computers anything you want. And even though there's not anything on the computer, it just knows everything.
It's just this DOS screen.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I'm like, dude, we can't even do that now on Google. We can barely do that now on Google.
Why didn't they just pull Google? I don't understand. They should have just Googled it.
But she types it in and it says data is incomplete. And he's really confused by this. And he keeps asking her what she asked the computer. He's like, "What the hell did you ask it?" And she kisses him suddenly and sweetly. And then she pulls back and she's like, "I asked it if you were gay." And I'm like, what?
So stupid.
What the fuck? Like, I mean, it's a different time, guys. It's not, I'm not upset with it because this is an old fucking movie. No. Like they just.
It was just such a weird thing.
I don't even think it was meant to be like harmful or anything like that. It's nothing to do why my shock and laughter from this. My laughter is from like, that is the last thing that I would have expected her to turn around and say.
Right.
After she kissed him. Like, why would you say that to him? I don't even understand.
I thought it was going to be like, does he like me?
Yeah, of course.
Does he want to marry me?
It's just like the little notes that kids pass around, pick a color.
Yeah. It's
like the form of, they're using the computer to pass a note back and forth. But regardless, I had to rewind it just to hear her say.
She said, gay?
Yeah, I was like, did she just say?
Ask him if he was gay?
If you asked him if he was gay, and then they laugh, and then it's like this joyful music and
then
shit.
they start making out.
What an insanely weird fucking thing to put in the movie. But anyway,
it really was.
Fucking hilarious because I'm like, what? So apparently Lillian, the computer girl who hates gay people, apparently, I'm kidding. She's got her new computer from Gerald and she types to Gerald on it because he said he would connect it to him somehow. I'm assuming through a phone line. So when
I am. So she's like IMing him.
Yeah, she's like messaging him, text messaging him. And so when she types in his name, it pulls up a bunch of files on all these murders that have been happening in Paddock. So she's like, oh my God.
Oh my God, it was him.
Is it he? Is it he who is the killer? Who's killing people with axes around this town? Because we got like an old one. We didn't even talk about that. There was like the scene where the old woman's pig is killed or something.
Oh yeah, in the beginning. Where right after the car wash scene, it immediately went into the scene of, she's like washing the dishes and this guy's creeping around the pig pen.
Right, she hears the pig. He pulls on its ear and makes it screech.
Oh, she was like, what? She's right outside. And of course they don't have a ring. So how do you know if somebody's out there because you don't have a ring? So then all of a sudden, like, she goes outside and then she goes back in and then she runs into the bedroom and there's a dead pig head on the bed. And if she just had a ring and a cell phone,
God, Christina,
she would have been fine.
Yeah, back in the 80s. Well, computers can do everything. So why didn't they just put a computer out front and just monitor the property? Mm-hmm. They're magic. They're magic computers.
But then they actually ended up going back to their house. And the killer comes back and kills her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does happen a little later. And then there's like this scene where Lillian's like she's at her fucking church group or something like that. And there's all these chatty Cathy fucking like church going women talking about the murders in town and like who they think it is. And she sort of overhears it, but you don't. You
can't hear it because
you
couldn't hear it because the sound wasn't coming through.
Well, they started to blame somebody, and it's like, and then that woman who's like talking shit about the axe maniac on the loose gets axed. She gets her fingers chopped off, and then he just starts, slapping her titty with an axe. Do you remember that shit? I was like, ooh, he hit her right in the titty. I was like, you were like, ouch. That's right.
Yeah.
There was another scene. Do you remember the scene where they're like pushing each other on the swing? And she's like, I don't want to fucking use your computer. You could take your computer back because I think technology is getting in between us. She's like, you're just so mysterious. And he's like, we only met each other like 2 days ago. Yeah. Like, fucking calm down.
Calm the fuck down, bitch.
Yeah.
and that's
Clinger!
And isn't that the part where she starts telling him about her cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like telling him about her cousin and how she pushed him off the swing really hard and he fucking busted his head and couldn't went
to a coma.
Yeah, and then she never saw him again or something. No, I don't think he died.
I thought and then she was like, I killed him.
She felt like she did, but she said she didn't know where he was.
Right.
Because they're alluding to the fact that we find out later that she's Charlie. Yeah.
The cousin Charlie.
But it was like a really weird situation where like they're both sitting on the swing. Gerald stays on the swing. And he kind of makes a joke about it. And later they're like, she gets mad at him and then starts pushing him on the swing all angry, like she did with her cousin. It's like kind of flashing back to that fateful day. Mm-hmm. And she's like seeing him on the swing, like this Charlie kid or whatever. So you think he's Charlie.
Right.
And you're like, oh, fuck, they're like related.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, they're kissing. They're going to have sex and they're cousins. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that. Ugh.
Yeah, because that's what in my mind, I was like, oh shit, they're fucking.
Like, Jesus Christ.
They're ready to pop each other's.
They're going to go this far with this shit? This fucking slasher movie? They're going to go this fucking far?
And then they flash to like an older pest guy, Richard, his older wife. And she's like palling around with her accountant all the time, AKA her love interest. But, you know, it's like this movie is like the guys talk like mad shit about how sexual women are, and like the women are like fucking like skirting around town with other men.
Yeah. Like everybody's just cheating on each other.
Yeah.
Like everybody's a cheater in this big bare lake town.
But her accountant tells her that she's bankrupt, and they go have drinks at the bar after that and drive home drunk. And she's driving, and the guy falls asleep on her, and they both die to the Axeman. Skee-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm a Axeman. Skee-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Copyright. I don't know. What did you think about that scene? Like, he's like laying in the seat, and she like swerves off the road or something, and then like.
It was funny too the way he kept falling asleep on her.
Yeah, because his eyes were open.
Yeah, he was just like, oh.
Like you think that he's up to something. Like they do a really good job of trying to make everyone seem suspect, you know?
Right.
For the most part. Some of it's ridiculous.
Right.
So a lot of other things happen. Like Lillian's starting to lose her mind all of a sudden and like act erratically and getting untrustworthy of fucking Gerald because she thinks he's the killer, or so they try to paint it as.
Right.
And then Gerald like tries to show her that she made up Charlie in her head.
Did you notice like that moment? It was like snap, and all of a sudden his eyes were like sunken in, and he looked like he hadn't eaten in like 5 days. Like the total look of him changed.
Maybe they came back or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It was funny.
But she's been like, he's like trying to say, you know, you're Charlie. There was never any Charlie. You're the Charlie. And you fell off the swing and you don't remember it, or you're suppressing it or some shit. Because she's been keeping notes on herself, and the magic computer has been keeping track of all those notes. So she's actually the murderer, and he found out by reading her files. And she's apparently killing everyone for her father.
Yeah.
Is that weird. What it was? Like, I don't know what that's all about.
That didn't make any sense.
Didn't really understand
the whole reasoning.
But then Gerald's like, I can cure you, you know, and we can be in love finally, and we can get you the help that you need. And it's like this really weird, aggressive scene between the two of them, and they like struggle with each other. And then he chases her and fall down the stairs together, and she runs out the front, and the cops shoot him thinking he's the murderer.
Right.
And the cop says, the murder's over. The murdering is over. And she like is crying on the cop's shoulder and looks up and smiles.
This creepy little smile.
Like, sneaky little bitch.
Fucking psychotic cunt. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Oh, don't forget the part where I stopped paying attention.
Oh, you mean, go ahead.
One of the church ladies, so she goes, or the killer comes to murder one of the church ladies, and they have this dog, and she fucking killed the dog. She axed the fucking dog. I was so pissed. I threw my pen up in there. I was like, I'm done. Fuck this movie.
I was like, Christina.
Like, fuck this movie.
I don't know why that bothers you so much.
It was cool when they killed the church lady, you know, that's fine. But the fucking dog, it was one of those fucking, like, the target. What's a target dog? It was a...
I don't know.
What breed of dog is that?
Border Collie?
No, they're really hyper. Never mind. Whatever. I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember thinking to myself, like, oh, it's not that big a deal. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, do you have anything else to add to it? I mean,
no.
Is that what you did not like at the end? Is that he got shot and there was this twistiness, or what?
Yeah, it was
you didn't like the end.
It was too much. Like there was too much twisteroo. You know, I love a twist. I love a twist, but that was just a little too much twist. Not as twisty as that one movie we watched a few weeks ago. That was ridiculous.
That's what I was going to say. Like, after watching One Missed Call, like, I don't think
no.
this is, like, rather tame compared to that.
bad, But it was still, I thought it was still pretty bad.
Yeah, part 3 in particular.
Right.
There's like 70,000 twists in it or whatever.
Right, it was ridiculous.
But yeah, we got another movie to talk about up next that came out. It's called
Deadly Manor. Came out in 1990.
Uh-huh.
It's also known as Savage Lust.
Also, guys, the movie before that we did was also called Forgotten Flesh. But it got changed. But anyway, Deadly Manor.
It's about a group of teenagers take refuge in an old deserted mansion. Soon, the members of the group start turning up dead, and the teenagers realize that they're not alone in the mansion.
Go figure.
Also directed by José Ramón Larraz. This was written by the director as well, and also has writing credits from Brian Simley Ashton. He's a big editor. He's done a lot of dramas, and he's produced a lot of movies too. He also wrote and directed a movie called Paul Raymond's Erotica, which sounds like it looked like a porno.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of them were, yeah.
But I did have a question when you're reading the director's history. You said, what comic did he write? What was that called? It was Paul something.
Paul Forna, I think.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't relate to this. Never mind. Also, a writer was Larry Gennam, and this was his only writing credit, and his only credit, really.
Okay.
Not a lot of recognizable names in the cast, but there are a few.
Okay.
William Russell, who plays Alfred. So he was born in 1924, and he is still acting. He's like 96. He's done a lot of British TV, and he's been in a shit ton of Doctor Who from the 60s. He played Ian Chesterton. Ian Chesterton. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
I watched some of those, yeah.
Also, Jennifer Delora, who plays Amanda, she also played Angel in Frankenhooker.
Ah, I saw that too. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and also she was in a Panic at the Disco video. It was the La Devotee, the one with the cult leaders. She was one of the cult leaders.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, Jerry Keenan, who plays Peter. This was his first movie, and he's been a working actor ever since. He's been in a lot of different TV series like Gilmore Girls and Without a Trace. But he's mostly in the Chicago Broadway scene, so he does a lot of Broadway.
Okay.
Clark Tufts, who plays Jack. This was also his first movie, and he's only been in 5 roles, including Voodoo from 1995 and Discord from 2001.
I got that movie.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Discord?
No, Voodoo.
Or Voodoo, you do?
Yeah, that's the Hoodoo, you do? Voodoo? What?
I'm gonna voodoo you?
No, it's the Corey Feldman movie.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the one where he looks weird?
It's about like this cult of like kids who are in like a fraternity or whatever. It's like a fraternity of like a cult worshiping fraternity. So,
that's weird. And I'll just mention just a couple more really quick. Greg Rhodes, who plays Tony. He's only done 7 movies. He was an extra in Prom Night 2 and Fatal Attraction and Ghost House. And then Claudia Franju, who plays Helen. This was her only movie, and she passed away in 1995.
Okay.
I didn't see why, though. I didn't have a budget because it was a straight-to-video release.
Yeah, there wasn't a budget for the other one either, so I kind of figured.
Yeah, so what did you think of this one, Alex?
Well, I'll tell you first up that I'm actually a fan of movies with kids find a house and they shouldn't go in and die. Typically, those are kind of fun. You know, like one of the ones that I always think of off the top of my head is Night of the Demons. Like, that's like just one of the better don't go in this house kind of bullshit, which this is not that. But the characters are pretty annoying because it's so painfully obvious that you shouldn't go in there.
Right.
Like the characters are so annoying enough to warrant killing, of course, but again, like the last film, they have shitty dialogue, which also helps watching them die. Although caring for them probably wouldn't have hurt. They're okay. It's okay. Like the beginning was okay, but a lot of dialogue there. It's a really silly slasher, guys, like terrible in some regards, but the beginning it was a bit more interesting and then it slows down like badly.
Very.
Like even if it slows down, like if the kills are cool, that would be cool, but they're not amazing.
No.
At all. And they're quick and frequent without much care, almost too frequent. Like, much like Edge of the Axe, which the kills were not amazing, it still suffers. This one still suffers from not enough gore, which, I really wish it was in there. And I understand these are lower budget films, so that's a costly item, but it just felt like if these movies would have been gory, they would have been really popular.
They would have been very good too.
Right. Like they would have been like even bigger, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody who likes these movies without the gore in it, but I'm just saying that's just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. But, I'll give a clear winner to the Edge of the Axe movie overall because it's better shot in my opinion. And this one was more boring.
Yes.
So the idea isn't terrible, but the payoff isn't exactly worth the wait by the end. So it's like, it did make me laugh, but it was really slow. And this movie is only 84 minutes and somehow seems to feel longer than that.
Like 3 hours.
Right. Like, oh. But I'd say if you're a slasher film fan, you should see it, especially if you're on a quest to see them all. I personally was not a fan of it so much. I'd probably give this one like a 3.5 out of 10. Best to watch knowing all of what I've said pretty much ahead of time, going into it to sort of just have fun with the film and make fun of a bunch of kids who should have known better getting into this house and getting picked off. Much better that way. The transfer from Arrow is really good, actually. If you're a collector, I think this is perfect time to pick it up because if you remember watching this on the shelves when you were a kid and you haven't seen it since, I mean, this is a pretty fucking perfect example of how to put it out, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because they gave us review copies, but it looks good. It's just not a good movie to me. So, but it does have a lot of really great features in it, just like The Edge of the Axe, with commentaries, like a booklet featuring, new writing on the film by author John Martin. You get like the original script and shooting schedule, which is on the disc. Reversible sleeve, which they always do now, which is awesome. So if you don't like the new artwork they did, which I think looks really good, you can always put the old one on.
The original?
Yeah. And they got archival interview with José Larraz in there. VHS trailer, Making a Killing. It's like a new interview with Brian Smedley Aston, who was the producer of this film. They got some, English subtitles, brand new audio commentary with Kat Ellinger and Sam Dangan. It's a 2K restoration from the original film elements too, so it does look really good, and they got, it's all in there. So if you're a fan of this, I think you should definitely pick it up. It's not a great movie. You have to know this going in. It is, Edge of the Axe is like twice the movie this one is, unfortunately, with pacing and everything like that, but I don't know. I thought it was fun to watch because we had some fun watching it, but it just does wind down by the end of the movie. So what about you, though? Like, what did you think of it?
I think I actually enjoyed watching the interviews and the special features more than I enjoyed the movie.
It is really cool to hear the Dolores lady. She was really funny, dude. Yeah,
she was funny.
That was like some of the funniest shit. And we'll talk about some of what she talked about in this.
In the spoilers.
We didn't do the commentary for the video, for the movie, because, I don't want to spoil everything that's on the disc.
I would like to go back and watch it with the commentary. I think it might be better.
Yeah, you think? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
It does boost that movie, like all the extras for me.
Yeah, it does.
Because I was actually like, even when we watched the other movies extras, which were cool.
Yeah.
And that one guy is like super awesome who was in the first movie. He was the best part about that. Oh,
yeah. Gerald.
Right.
Yeah,
I really liked listening to him talk, but on this one, it's definitely goes to fucking Jennifer Dolores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. But I don't know. Overall, the movie, I was just kind of in a weird space with this movie.
Yeah.
The manor wasn't really that deadly.
Well, the manor looked awesome. It just didn't.
Yeah, but it wasn't deadly.
Yeah.
Again, just like you, I wanted more blood and I wanted more like over the top deaths. I really think that would have made the movie better. I really, really wanted to like it, but I don't. It's boring and slow. The dialogue was horrible. The acting was just okay for most of the actors.
Yeah, it's tolerable, but it's like So slow after a while.
Right. But what I did love about the movie, I love the location. I love that house. The house was amazing, and it looked like a real abandoned mansion.
Right. Which
in
it
real
was,
life.
technically.
Yeah, and it was. And that was cool to find out.
Yeah,
too,
this was nothing of this was done on the set. This is all by the house.
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
Also, what I did love about this movie is they did show some dicks.
Lots of dicks, actually.
They did,
yeah.
and we had a long conversation about the dicks, and all of a sudden, Alex is like, rigatoni, and he's googling rigatoni, and he's like, their dicks look like rigatoni. So we were comparing their dicks.
Because you just see this mash of hair and like this fleshy bits, and like and I showed it to her. Did it look like rigatoni?
But you know what? There were still dicks in the movie, so
right, yeah.
I don't care if it's rigatoni dick or hot dog dick. I don't give a shit. There's
so if you folks like dicks,
this is a movie.
This
for you.
might be the perfect movie.
It wasn't that much dick. It was like a dick in a pitcher.
Yeah,
but still, I mean, I don't care.
It wasn't erect
dicks.
or anything. It was just chilling.
And
it was just eating some rigatoni.
And so I'm going to try to explain this. So the overall feel of this movie, it really reminded me of how I felt about that Love Witch movie.
Oh, okay.
Because that movie was slow and it was boring, but it was really aesthetically pleasing.
I like the Love Witch better than this.
Yeah, I did too. But it just reminded me of like the feelings I had when I watched that movie.
Right.
Because it was just like, I love the house, I love the decor, I love the makeup.
Right.
It just made me think of the Love Witch. I don't know why. But yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5.
Really? Higher than me?
Yeah, just like 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a definitely one of those movies that you definitely watch with your friends and just make fun of,
right,
and just laugh about it, because there are some scenes in it that are okay,
right,
and it's just some ridiculous shit that happens that makes it kind of a so bad it's good film.
It's like a good
it's just boring. That's the problem with it.
It's a good bad movie night. Like with your friends.
Sure.
It's a good movie for bad movie night.
Yeah, like I said, both of these movies suffered from not enough gore. Like, I feel like they both would have been really good if they just had extra gore.
Do you think I think they could remake this movie.
I don't know that they would.
But make it more gory. No, they wouldn't, because honestly, it isn't really
the story isn't that great.
Yeah, it's not that great of a story. But somebody could make. But there's been movies like this too. I don't know what I'm talking about. Shut the fuck up, Christina.
Yeah, because we'll get into that in the spoilers. But to give you guys kind of an idea, like what the story's about, these kids show up at this house and things. There's like a story that is going on there. They find out that they aren't alone. It isn't very supernatural or anything like that, although they try to make it seem like that, but it doesn't feel that way at all at any point in the movie.
Yeah, it's not even supernatural. There's nothing supernatural going on.
Right. So it's like, whatever, but there's a story of why this house is still inhabited. Let's just put it that way. So, but now we're going to go ahead and jump into our trivia and spoilers. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you've been warned.
You're fine to stay.
You can just come back or, watch it, rent it, whatever you want.
You're not going to watch it.
So the trivia in this, interesting story. So if you guys have seen this movie, you'll know that there's a scene in this movie where they have sex. Like it's like a dream.
Right.
Like a drunk dream, I guess. I don't really know. But this guy who plays Tony, Greg Rhodes, the director wanted him to do a sex scene in this movie, and it was in the script, it was in his contract, but he didn't want to get nude. So they had to have some other guy fill in who was too hairy, so they had to shave his whole back and ass. Or as Jose said, he had hair from chin to balls. Which I thought was hilarious.
Rigatoni.
Yeah, they had to shave. They didn't do his front though, so they let the rigatoni flow.
We should have done a rigatoni shot.
Oh my god, that would be out of those big shells. That's funny. I don't know. The milky eye's good. We'll get into why.
It is. I was just saying.
But Jennifer Dolores, this was her last film that she ever did, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
She had done some like Playboy movies, Playboy bunny movies or whatever the hell. She was actually a pretty big, name at the time, I guess. That's what she said. But she actually didn't even really care what the movie was at the time. She just worked. She would just show up and be like, yeah, I'm ready to go, whatever you want. And she literally got the script the day that they started shooting.
Oh, wow.
So she didn't prep it, anything. Mm-hmm. She even joked about her not picking great scripts. Well, she said this one was okay. It was fine. But she just loved the business and the experience, so she just kind of went for it, which is pretty cool.
That's kind of cool.
I mean, she was a really attractive girl for the time.
She really was.
Do you know what I mean? Like I would have seen her if she stuck with it. Like, you know, she seemed like
a really.
She had the look.
Yeah.
She's got the look. What kind of world? All right.
Copyright.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought she was decent in this movie, like ridiculous because she was told to act a certain way. But the house that they did all this in, as I mentioned, they did everything in this house, by the way. So there's everything that you're seeing in that house, including the furniture, was part of the house. Like It wasn't they didn't bring any of that there. This was an old dilapidated building that they were going to tear down anyway. And they rented it from these older people who were just in love with the fact that they were going to be shooting a horror movie in their old house that they had to get taken down.
They rented it from the Davidson sisters who inherited it, and it was a 100-year-old mansion.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It is. It's nuts.
She said they were crazy, like, into it.
They sounded crazy.
Also, they actually burned this place down to the ground when they finished filming.
Uh-huh.
And when they burned it down, after everything was done, they even filmed it. And so the producer was like, why didn't they fucking add that in the movie? I thought that was going to be in the movie. And I don't remember them burning the house down. I remember there a fire caught fire or something. But they didn't show the building burning down.
It must have just not have worked.
I don't know.
Because, you can only do that once.
Maybe it was in an older cut. That's what he meant by it. Because I do vaguely remember fire at the end.
Yeah, I remember fire at the end too, but I don't remember like the whole house being on fire.
No. Yeah, I would have recognized that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's big big money, man. That
was a gorgeous house.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was just beyond repair.
Yeah. What's her name? Jennifer Dolores.
Mm-hmm.
She said she got along with the director really well, that they actually hung out a lot. I mean, she said that they, a lot of times just stayed there in the house all day long.
Oh.
So she said she would hang out with him when they were like setting up shots and like getting everything up, and that they just had a lot of really good working relationship with each other. And she really trusted him, and she trusted his vision because he was with her. He didn't want her to stray from his vision as to her character, which is Amanda, who is this girl who is dead. And you find out, or she's not dead, but you think she's dead or something. And then she got burned up or whatever. And she wanted her to play this. She wanted to try some different things. And he was like, no, I want you to do this. And she was like, cool, whatever. Mm-hmm. Makes my job a lot easier. So, you know what I mean? So she didn't mind that, but a lot of people really don't like that kind of direction because it's too rigid, as she said.
Right.
But she loved working with him, and she really, really trusted him, especially when it came to the sex scene that they had to do, because like she was going to wear a thong in the sex scene, and like he pulled her aside and said, we can still see the thong. Is it okay if you do it bare? We won't show she kept calling it her cookies.
Uh-huh.
But she did mention like the guy who she had to have sex with in that scene, because they both needed to be naked because he was supposed to be like on top of her.
Right.
And railing her.
Right.
And like sensually, not even like just disgusting or anything. But he didn't want to do it. The guy who played Tony didn't want to do it, even though it was in his contract. And she said she was fucking pissed about it. She was like, you're going to fucking make everybody shut down this whole fucking thing.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to shut down he wanted an empty set.
Because he wanted nobody, not only did he not want anybody in the room, because they shot it in the bedroom, he wanted them out of the house.
So
and
stupid.
she was like, you're out of fucking control. Like, get your shit together. She told him to get the fuck off the set. Which I thought was fucking awesome. She's no nonsense. And she was like, you, to the PA, I guess the photography assistant. And she said, you want to be in this scene? Because he looked like the other guy. Uh-huh. And he was like, sí. Because he was Spanish. He didn't speak a lick of English. She said that they had so much fun doing that scene together too, because they had to shave his whole back and they were like fully nude. She's like, there was a blanket between them so that, you couldn't see that.
A washcloth. There's a washcloth.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
A washcloth?
She said it was like a washcloth.
Oh, wow.
Just so they wouldn't,
But she said they kept laughing together while they were doing the scene. And she's like, you can tell the difference between me and that PA and the guy who was the actor, because the acting, he was just so rigid and like fucking, it just was not like we had no chemistry there. Yeah. It was just me and my tits and my ass hanging out and my cookies hanging out. She's like, I'm doing all the work. What the fuck are you bitching about? So I thought that was really funny. But we got some scenes. That's pretty much it for the trivia. We got some scenes here. There isn't a whole bunch, but there's a few. There's like some funny stuff that I want to mention though. But I think it's like in the beginning, you see a group of friends are on the road. They're going to go to a fucking camp or a lake, isn't it? A lake?
Lake Wakanopi.
Wakanopi. Waka, waka, waka.
Wakanopi.
Well, they get a flat, and then 1 minute after, some hitchhiker, they pick up, and like there's this bigger bike guy with a girl on his back, like driving down the road.
Peter.
And when they get the flat, he's like, "Does anybody want to light up?" And he lights.
I forgot about that.
He lights up a joint in the middle of the road, and the police start driving down the road towards them. And he like puts out the cigarette on his fingers, and then eats it. He's like,
yeah, he throws it in his mouth.
He eats it. He ate the fucking thing.
It's like, yo, bro, it's legal now.
But you can
legal
hear
now, you're fine.
You could hear him like.
Yeah, that was really funny.
I don't know. It was a funny scene. Of course, they find this abandoned house with a car on an altar.
I thought that was kind of cool.
It is cool.
I thought that was clever. I was like, oh, that's clever.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah. Oh, did you say they picked up a hitchhiker?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jack or whatever his name
Jack.
is? Yeah. But inside the car, there's like a picture of a girl who is Dolores, who's Amanda. The character. And there's some shoes in the car, and there's like, it's on this concrete shrine that's as big as the car, which I'm wondering, did they put that in before or after? Because I didn't get to see the commentary or listen to that. So you guys will have to check it out to let me know. But they decide they're going to sleep in the house for the night, or rather a deadly manor, if you will.
Undeadly Manor.
And one of their friends says, "No way, this house is evil." And she just fucking leaves.
She's fucking pissed. Yeah, she said, I'm just going to walk back to the town.
Yeah, and Tony's like, "Oh, she does this all the time. She's a fucking bitch, She'll be back." But of course, she doesn't come back.
Right. Ever.
Yeah, ever.
Because she gets killed.
In a stupid way, too.
Yeah.
She's out in the middle of nowhere. And then there's the Peter, the big biker, kind of bigger dude. He's like the jokester guy, and the kids are like looking at all these photos that are plastered all over this fucking Deadly Manor, and all over the walls of this red-haired girl, half naked, and one girl's like, "She looks cruel," and he's like, "Yeah, she looks real cool." Like, oh god,
that was bad.
That was pretty bad.
That was pretty bad.
I mean, I don't know. It's silly. But the thing that really blows me away in this movie is that they decide that the car in a shrine isn't weird enough for them to warrant leaving.
Right.
Their friend calling it evil isn't enough. And then they ventured down into the basement where there's 2 fucking coffins, which they are like, they're not real coffins. Oh, they're coffins.
Yeah, what's not real coffin?
I don't understand.
Is it like a pop-up coffin for like Halloween? No,
yeah, he didn't
wasn't.
He's like, they're not coffins. They're just, and he's like, yeah, they're coffins. I'm like, oh my God, shoot me. There's, they got the names Amanda and Alfred on them. And that's not enough, though, for them to get the fuck out of there. They find a closet or a pantry full of human fucking scalps.
Scalps out of everything you can put in there.
Right.
To be freaky.
And Tony's like, maybe, or was it? Yeah, Tony's like, maybe they're just collectors or something. And Peter's like, dude, people collect stamps or baseball cards, not scalps. Which is pretty funny, but it's just rolling your eyes kind of moment.
Right.
So they decide to stay because, fuck it. After that, that's not enough to get them out of there. Oh, and then they find the newspaper from the day before, and that's not enough to make them go, okay, somebody's staying here.
Right.
They even talk about it, and they're like, oh, someone must have been here and stayed here before us. What a coincidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. I even dread just talking about this movie.
Dude, those are the funniest things in the movie. The rest of the movie there's some stuff that happens later on.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's the love scene where Tony makes love to the red-haired woman in his dreams,
right.
I guess. And he wakes up and looks through like this photo album that shows pictures of all these dead bikers on the ground, which the opening of the movie is all about these bikers, and they're like laying on the ground.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really tell you why.
Sense. But then it showed Amanda and Alfred were in a car, and these bikers came up and made them crash. Or something,
Well,
right?
you don't find that out until the very end of the movie.
Oh, is that the end?
Very end.
Oh.
Yeah, those bikers are from other times that they've been trying to find these other bikers and kill people.
Oh, see?
So they go out on the road and try to kill bikers. And because they think that every biker is the ones that made them careen off the road. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Anyway, before we get there, though, to the very end, though, Susan, the blonde-haired girl, and the other blonde-haired guy are trying to have sex upstairs. And he's like, oh, fuck, I left the condoms in the car.
Oh, man, why'd I do that?
So he goes down, gets the condoms, of course, dies by his neck's cut.
Yeah.
Just show it real quick. It's like soup. This is like where three or four people die like instantly, like within 5 minutes.
So weird.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Wait,
they just start killing the teenagers. Like, wait, you could have done this like 20 fucking minutes ago.
Or just done it like so that we indulge in the death a little bit. But then Susan, who's waiting on him upstairs, that fucking hitchhiker guy comes in and is like making out with her.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you little, and it's so weird because like the relationship that the blonde hair guy and her have seems so close. So it doesn't even make sense why she's just making out with this fucking
it didn't make sense.
Dude from Pearl Jam or Airheads movie.
Airheads movie.
Eddie Vedder's coming up in there making out with her, I guess.
He was just so irresistible. She couldn't help it.
He's like, I'm still inside here. Oh, wait, no, it's alive. But really, he's not alive because he dies too.
Yeah, he dies too.
But she gets her throat cut.
That was probably I wrote that scene down as a favorite scene. And then when she got her throat cut.
Yeah, the hitchhiker then, I think it was like a couple of minutes later, comes walking down the stairs and his neck is cut and he's bleeding all down the thing, probably because he was listening to fucking Soundgarden or something.
Soundgarden. In 1990.
Dude, it totally seemed like it. Well, yeah, dude, Soundgarden was big back then.
I guess in 1990.
Yes.
I thought they were like 94.
No, they were around in the very early 90s.
Oh, the early 90s.
And 80s, I think.
Oh.
In Washington. But I don't know. I'm just saying that look is like something you would find.
Oh, yeah. Alternative.
With the fucking jean jacket and fucking like piercings.
And your flannel. Your fucking flannel with your muscle shirt. Your cut-off jeans.
I don't know about muscle shirt.
Didn't he have a shirt that was cut?
No, he just has like a regular shirt, I think. I don't know.
Oh, whatever.
Anyway, a bunch of chasing each other around and dumb shit happens, and I'm like, kind of like, I don't know, like I'm just at this point, I'm like, you just killed the entire cast off in literally 10 minutes. Not even. And it's like, all that there's left is this one girl who is the big guy's, like, because he died too. I forgot about that.
He died too. Yeah, well, obviously they all died except her.
Except the biker's girlfriend, who they never even, like, really talked to except once in the movie.
Right.
Now all of a sudden she's the final girl.
Yeah, and you already forgot about her. That she was even, like, in the movie.
Like, is he trying to, like, just trick us? Like, oh, you thought she was the final girl.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, and it's like, all of the biggest speaking roles die.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me, but that one girl who talks the least is the final girl. You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess I applaud it for being different because I was not expecting that, I guess.
Right.
But anyway, she bumps into Amanda in the attic. And Amanda blames her for making her ugly because she takes off her mask and she's got this milky eye with a burnt face. And she's like, you did this to me. You made me ugly. And like literally screaming at her. And not even acting well.
No.
Like this is the director's vision, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Look what you did to me! Which is really fucking funny. That's why we say congratulations for the shot, by the way.
Right.
But I don't know. It's so over the top yelling. It was just so funny. But this is where they do the flashback because apparently Amanda,
so you find out
that
what
Jennifer Dolores plays, and the other guy, who's that guy? The one, the British guy, Alfred, who played Alfred.
Yeah, who played Alfred?
What's his name?
William Russell.
Yeah, he is a familiar face. He looks like the same age, like no matter where he is.
Right.
But yeah, he and her driving down the road, and some bikers like beat on their car as they're driving around them. And then apparently they're coming back from an opera. That's where they were, in the city. And these guys just like fucking flip their car upside down, and it starts burning the whole fucking car and her face. And that's how she got the milky eye.
Yeah.
I guess.
It melted off.
Yeah. I don't know how, because the car was like so on fire. I'm like thinking to myself, like, how did they get that thing on the shrine?
Aliens.
Yeah.
It was aliens.
What, did they have somebody come save her? And I don't know. Anyway, and they just been living in this old dilapidated house for no reason and didn't dust or care to dust at all. Like, this is weird. And why are they sleeping in coffins? What is the point?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they're goth.
Maybe they wanted to, because that moment impacted their lives. It ended their lives, so they felt like they were dead anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, hey, look at how deep you're getting into this
I mean,
shit.
that's the only
Reasonable explanation.
I mean, yeah, because it doesn't make sense.
Because, there's beds in the house, too. They could have slept in a bed.
But Amanda's not even the one that's killing everybody. It's Alfred.
Right.
So the girl, the final girl, runs into Alfred, and he's about to kill her, but the cops show up and kill him and shoot him in the head.
Right. But they don't kill Amanda.
They don't kill Amanda. She's just screaming at everybody for a weird...
Congratulations!
Yeah. And then turns out the cops were actually trying to track the hitchhiker, and when they got pulled over, when they had the flat tire earlier, one of the cops reported it, that they were seen in that area, and they just happened to follow this path out in the middle of the woods and find them in the middle of nowhere for no reason whatsoever. Like, I don't know why they would know to go there. Like, would you?
No. It was in the script.
I mean, yeah, obviously. But I guess Amanda and Alfred had been killing, specifically bikers for a long time for what they did to her. And then burying them in the walls of their house.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's that crack that they see over the whole fucking movie. They're like, oh, that's a weird crack. Did it just grow? And it's like slowly getting like more cracked and more cracked, which... It's just a weird side thing that they have in there. It's like...
And then eventually...
It has no impact whatsoever.
Yeah, because the bodies all came falling out of the wall.
Toppling out, yeah.
Yeah, it was
nude
dumb.
bodies that have not aged at all.
Yeah.
Apparently I don't think it was the same bikers that caused them to crash. I think it was just random people. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to think too deeply into it because the script's not that deep.
Right.
But it's just, I'm trying to reason with it because it just kind of like, what?
I don't know.
Like, why are you showing this crack in the wall throughout the whole movie just for this stupid ending, in my opinion? No offense. I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. But it just didn't have any impact. And I feel like it would have been cooler if it was...
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, if maybe the kids found out that they've been killing people or something like that, it might have been more interesting, or there was this story about this house,
Yeah, better story.
Yeah, that people were disappearing in the woods. And
maybe threw in some ghosts and shit.
Well, she's kind of ghostly, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, these aren't terrible movies. Like, this one just was very disappointing.
Right.
Because it looked good. It just didn't, I don't know. The story and everything just didn't feel right. It just didn't work for me personally, but I know there's people that like it out there, and I'm sure we'll hear from you guys. I would love to hear what you guys think of both of these movies and like what you think these movies are to you, and like what you would score them, and what, you know, which one you think is better. Like, I obviously would give the win to Edge of the Axe 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. What about you? Well, you gave it a higher score.
Yeah, I agree. Edge of the Axe.
Okay. I mean, they're both ridiculous.
But I'm not going to watch either of these movies ever again.
You don't think?
No. Maybe with the commentary, but no.
So, guys, let us know what you think down below. I'm not sure what we're going to do next week. We've been thinking about doing some, like, viral movies since everybody's in the mood. We'll have to think about it, but we're thinking about...
What's the one on Netflix?
We're possibly thinking about doing movies that are based on viruses of some sort.
Outbreak.
Some sort of outbreak or something like that.
What about Outbreak on Netflix? That just came out.
It's not horror.
Oh, it's not?
Those are dramas.
Oh, god damn it, dramas.
So is Contagion. But we're trying to think of something that might be along the lines of like an outbreak or something like that, guys. So, I don't know. We're thinking about it. If not, we'll let you know on Thursday or Friday of next week, or this week, excuse me, to let you know what we're going to be watching. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's not necessarily in poor taste. It's just we got coronavirus on the mind, so might as well embrace it, I guess. So, but yeah, guys, let us know what you think down in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for coming by, and as always,
long live the void.
To Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Tune in every Monday for a brand new episode.